Hello, this is Ennis from Never Stop Trucking. Today we are talking about GPS tracking, Macropoint, Project 44, and all these other tracking apps that brokers like to have us installed on our drivers' phones. So I got this question the other day, and I've been thinking about this for a while too, and then it made me make this video. Hopefully, I'm not going to talk too long, but the tracking apps on our drivers' phones are becoming a hassle. Nowadays, everyone, all these brokers and shippers, or as they like to call them, their customers, are imposing these tracking apps on our drivers' phones. So if I see a load that requires Macropoint, then I may call it, I may not. Why? Because half of my drivers are okay with it. And then just to clarify, there is no one that likes Macropoint. Okay, we have two, maybe three categories of drivers. And I have all three of them. So one of them is that they're okay with Macropoint. Then the second one is that they are not okay with it. They don't like it and they genuinely hate it. And then there's a third category that does not have a smartphone. So, and then when you say this to a broker, like this driver doesn't have a smartphone, they have a flip phone and they can't install it. They don't have that. They're like, like what planet are you from? They don't have a smartphone. And it has come to that point, that they just don't understand. So the drivers now that actually work in my trucking company, my authority, that are okay with that, they're just like it's another app, and if the brokers require, then I'll just do it. To me, it doesn't mean much. So when I see a load, if it in the description of the load has that note about Macropoint, then I just don't really care about it. I call the load and I book it. Okay. And then if I'm looking for a driver that does not want to install Macropoint or any other app like 4Kites, Project 44, and some brokers have their own apps too, then if I see in notes, then I'm not even gonna call that load for that driver, because I respect this driver's not just privacy, but their wishes. Okay, if they don't want to do that for any reason, then I respect it. I'm not gonna book a load that requires the Macropoint. And then there may be a lot of reasons why a driver does not want Macropoint. One is, it drains their battery. So that's the first, and there are probably more that I'm gonna miss, but drains the battery, and then privacy issues, because they are just watching their every move wherever they go, even if they're not driving. Like if the phone is on them, they go out or they go to shopping or wherever, it keeps following them. So another thing is privacy, and then there's a data issue, because most of these apps use the data, and then some people have limited data, and they just don't want to pay out of their pocket if they go over the data limit on their plan. And they may be other issues too, like just pride, and like just saying, hey, why should I do that? Who are you? You're not my boss. I don't work for you. Even if I worked for you, I don't like it. I'm not gonna work for a company that does that. You cannot tell me what to install on my phone. If you give me a phone that you're gonna pay for, and pay for the data and all that, then yeah, I have no problem. So we have that issue too. So in my eyes, all these points are right. All of them have value, and I agree with all of them. So no matter where you are, whatever your reason is not to want these tracking apps on your phone, I agree with you on any one of them, that you don't like. So if you don't want it, I'm not gonna do that. with you. And then the third, I have one guy that has a flip phone, and then I love the reaction from the brokers when I just tell them, hey, this is a flip phone. We can't track the guy. What are you gonna do? And then they're just stunned. Like, what do you mean a flip phone? But yeah, phone, flip phone. The phone, that's what it's supposed to do. To do calls, not track you. Okay, and then there is also, well, I'm gonna talk about this later. But if you see a load that requires some Macropoint, so you're either going to call it or not call it, because you know what to expect and you know who the driver is, who's going to do the load. Now, if the broker kind of forces this onto you or sneaks it into the contract, then that's different. Okay, so a lot of times I book a load, and then sometimes it even happens with these guys that don't like tracking. So there's nothing about tracking in the posting. I call them, I book a load, and they don't say anything about tracking. And then they have two ways of doing this. First way is that they just casually send you an email. Hey, what's this driver's phone number? The tracking is required for this. Like, it's a must. Okay, or they would put it on the rate confirmation, and it says there Macropoint required. If you don't do it, there's going to be a monetary consequence, whatever. And then you sign it and you send it to them, and then you agree. Like, they just, force this onto you, and you signed for it, you agreed. You told them, well, okay, my driver is not using it. Yeah, go ahead, charge me a fee because I agreed to it in this contract. It's fine. So that's what they like to do too. Or they would sometimes ask you for the phone number for drivers, and then usually they would ask you because they want to call them to see where they are and maybe check on them, or if there's an emergency, they can contact them just in case. And that's fine. In my eyes, they should be able to contact the driver directly, unless they're going to terrorize them and call them all night while they're sleeping. Then if you're a broker, just don't do that. Okay, please, if you're watching this, don't call drivers outside of regular hours or on a weekend. That's just not only rude and unprofessional. You are waking someone up or bothering them while they're resting. Okay, so they would get the phone number from the driver, and after an hour or so, they would just call you and, hey, well, this driver is not tracking. What do you mean? Well, we sent him the link and they are not tracking. Well, you never said anything about tracking. We didn't agree to any of this. Well, no, this load requires tracking. Blah, blah. So usually 95% of the times I'm able to get out of a Macropoint, even if they don't tell me in the first place, even if they put it on the rate confirmation. Or try to email you something like, hey, we need tracking. Usually I get out of it if the driver does not want to track. If the driver is okay with tracking, then I would just ask them to do it, and they would do it, no problem. But if the driver does not want to do tracking, what I do is I have few options. Okay, I when they put it on the rate confirmation, I sign it anyway, and I just play stupid. I play dumb, and then most of the time, they're not even going to send the driver the link because some loads don't require it. They just put in rate confirmation just because. Sometimes they would send the link to the driver, and the driver will also ignore it. And, they will not know this, and they're just going to ignore it too. So the driver is not tracking, okay, whatever. If sometimes they know this, they could call me, say, hey, well, this driver needs to accept tracking. And then you can tell them, well, you never told me about this, and, why should we do it? Well, the customer requires it. Well, okay, well, you never told me. Well, you signed the record. Well, we can try, but I can't make any promises. And usually they're okay with it. Maybe only once someone ever charged me for not using it. Okay, so usually I just play stupid. Even if they send me an email, I would just tell them, hey, you never said anything about that. And then they would freak out, and they would maybe call me and talk to their boss, and then I would explain the situation. and then usually they would come back, hey, you know what, it's okay, driver does not have to track, just give us an updates every couple of hours. Can we call you? Yeah, sure, you can call me, I'll give you updates, that's fine. um, or like I use Keep Tracking ELDs, and they have an option like if you're an admin, fleet admin, and then you log into the program on their website, and then you can share a tracking link with whoever you want to. So you just choose the equipment, the unit number, the unit ELD, and then you just there's a link there to share the location, and it gives you a link, and then whoever you send that link to, they can just click on it and see the truck live on the map, which is really cool. That way they don't have to track drivers on their phones. They can just see it online, and they can follow the driver that way. So that kind of works in your favor. Like Keep Tracking, they you can integrate them with Project 44. I'm not sure about Macropoint, but when you integrate it, and then when you do, sometimes when you get set up with brokers, there's an option there that you can just allow them to use it, and then they're not going to bother you, they're not going to bother the driver, they're just going to use the ELD location, and then they can track drivers like that. Now, what are my thoughts of an alternative? So, dear brokers and dear customers, phones like my phone, even if I'm a driver or my driver's phone, they're personal devices that I pay for by myself, and I use it for my own convenience, whether that's business or convenience and entertainment, communication, browsing on internet, checking my email. That's my thing, my own thing to decide what I'm gonna do with my phone, because I paid for the phone, I pay my bill, not you, and you didn't buy me this phone. Now, if you want to track a load, then track a load. If you want to track my truck, well, my truck is my truck or the owner operator's truck, and they decide, who can track them and who cannot. Okay, not you. And I'm just, I'm not mad. I'm just saying, just talking to you, and it's what it is. That's how it is. So it's my driver's truck or my own truck, and we decide who is going to track us and where and how. Not you, not your customer. Now, if you can track the load, okay, that's fine, because that's your load. We got it from you as a broker or a shipper, and that's your load. We are just transporting the load for you for a fee, and the whole time you are in possession of this load. It's your load. Now, you can plant a tracking device in your load. No one is telling you not to do that. Like sometimes, like reefer loads, sometimes they will have that, they would track the location, and they would track like the temperature, humidity, and all that. So in your load, you can just put a tracking device, and then that would be a problem solved. And then when the driver goes to the next location, they just take it out. And, easy as that. You're not using anyone's data. You're not using anyone's phone, because it's, like I said, it's our phone, not yours. How would you feel if I tell you, hey, I'm going to track you for next 2 days, so wherever you go, just download this app on your phone. We are doing these loads for you. We are we have mutual business, and then just go ahead and download this app, and I'm gonna follow you wherever you go for next 2 days and see where you are, what you're doing. I'm gonna use your data and your phone. You're gonna pay for the phone, but I'm gonna track you because I can. Yeah, it should not work like that. And even if you're a dispatcher, you can tell them no. Sometimes they will say, well, we can't book you on this load unless you do tracking, and it's really up to you and your driver if you want to do that. Like I said, drivers who do it, but it should be really up to us. If someone wants to track a load, they can come up with their own ways and track the load. So that's my thinking about this Macropoint thing and these tracking. It's not a big deal. If we are tracked on these devices, these smartphones, smart computers, whoever wants to look where we're going, they're going to find a way. But it's usually people that you don't know that are doing that are following you, that a hacker or government, whatever, I'm not gonna go into these conspiracy theories because I'm not a fan of them, but it's a fact. You can be tracked, and then we agree with it. But if you ask me to not only give you my location and where I am, I might have a problem with that. Some people don't, because they feel like, well, I can be tracked anyway. But some people are like that. No, I'm not gonna do it, and I don't blame it. It's a free country, and everyone says, you can do whatever you want. You have certain freedoms. Then, well, don't take my freedoms away from me just because we are doing work together. Okay, so hopefully this video helped you a little bit with Macropoint. Come back for more. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. I'll see you around.